Welcome to the Our State Book Club podcast. I'm your host, New York Times bestselling author and North Carolina native Wiley Cash. In today's episode, we visit Vanessa Miller at her home in Charlotte to discuss her novel, The American Queen. What led her to put pen to paper, and what has she learned about herself and her faith along the way? So, Vanessa, thank you so much for joining us and for welcoming us to your beautiful home here in Charlotte.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Of course. So I want to start by asking, before you tell us about The American Queen, which I would like for you to do in a moment, can you tell us a little bit about your journey from wanting to be a writer to writing to becoming a published writer?
Oh, wow. That was so many years ago, but I had this idea for a book and I began to write it. And I just thought I had everything figured out about this book. And so I did not, of course, have an editor at the time. So I was paying for an editor. And this is over 20 years ago. I can't even tell you how many right now. But I had to pay this editor $1,000. And I was thinking, oh, this is such a waste of money. All she's going to do is tell me that everything is fine because, of course, we're writers.
It's great. It's already done, basically.
We think it's wonderful. Well, she earned her money because she told me that my book was a mess. When I received that book back, I put it in the closet for several years because I could not deal with it. And so when I finally pulled it back out, because my daughter at the time, she was young at the time, and she said, I thought you said you were a writer. And I was like, I am. And she says, well, don't writers have books? And so to show her, I pulled the book back out and I began to work on everything that the editor told me. And when I sent it back to her, she said, and I still remember it to this day because all of her edits were so hurtful. She said,
there's so many writers right now watching this and they're like, tell us more. Yes. It is resonating with them. Yeah.
Yes. But she said, you went from wanting to write to being a writer. And there's a world of difference between the two. And so from that moment, I haven't looked back. I self-published my first book, and then I was picked up by a publisher. It was a new publishing company starting, and the person they picked for an editor, she'd seen me out on the road, just buy my book.
Yeah. Carrying your wares around to festivals and conferences.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that was how it all began.
Yeah. What was the idea for that first book you had?
It was titled Former Rain. And so it became a series, which was the Rain series.
Sure.
That was my first book and my first series.
Oh, wow. That's great.
And many of my readers today, they still remember Former Rain.
And that all happened, that first book happened when you were living in Ohio.
When I was in Ohio.
And that's where you started your writing career. But things really kind of escalated, and maybe even you could even say elevated and certainly accelerated when you moved to Charlotte.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about what brought you to Charlotte and what it was about North Carolina that brought you here from Ohio?
Yeah. So it's not a happy story. So my mother passed away in 2010. And we traveled together. When I first started writing, she was my road dog.
Yeah.
She would be
was she a big reader? Was she?
She was not.
Yeah.
But
she loved her baby, and she went with her, right?
But she loved books on tape. And books on tape, they were just beginning at that time. And so I would go to the library and I would get her these it was CDs at that time, the CDs, and put them in, and then that's how she got her reading in. But yeah, she loved her baby, so she followed me from conference to conference. And so when we had traveled to North Carolina, and we had talked about, maybe one day we'll move out there. And when she passed, I could no longer be in Ohio because every place reminded me of my mother. And it was just a very sad time for me. I tell people all the time, you only get one mother. And when she's gone, you will feel it.
Sure.
And so I packed up. I said, you know what? I'm a writer. I work from home. I could live anywhere. And I moved to North Carolina. I had actually never been to Charlotte when I decided to move here. I had been to Raleigh. I had been to Fort Bragg area, so Fayetteville, but never Charlotte. But we decided on Charlotte because my daughter and my grandkids, they were like, okay, well, if you're moving, we're coming too. And so I thought they might like Charlotte better. And so this is how we ended up here. We actually drove to the house that I first rented, sight unseen.
Oh, wow.
And I was just happy there was a house there
Oh, my.
when I pulled up because, people do try to scam you.
Sure. Yeah. But now you got a bunch of family down here. So did more people kind of make their way to Charlotte?
Well, we don't have a bunch of family. My husband has family in other parts of North Carolina.
Okay.
And then, yes, my niece came after we came. And so we have her, and that's about it. The rest of our family is still in Ohio. Yeah. And of course, we have our church family.
Sure.
Yeah. And so,
yeah. How do you feel like moving to North Carolina maybe opened your creativity or made you? I know we had talked before and you said you didn't know if you would write again after your mother passed away, because it's hard. People don't realize, like, writing is a spiritual exercise. Yeah. Writing is you can't have that heavy heart. You gotta move forward.
Absolutely.
So how did moving to Charlotte, was it that psychic distance from Ohio? Was it a change of scenery? Was it something about the community or the weather?
I think it was the change of scenery, because I remember driving into Charlotte, and the first thing I thought was how beautiful it looked. It was just the trees, and I've since discovered that North Carolina doesn't like trees as much as I thought they did, because they are tearing,
especially not in Charlotte. Parts of Charlotte anyway.
Yeah. So many of them down, and houses are coming, apartments and everything. But when I first moved here, it was all of the trees and all of the scenery. And it was just really beautiful. And I would go and I would take walks. And this was at a time when I thought I didn't have any more stories. And I really thought I had stopped publishing with my publisher because I couldn't commit to a deadline.
Okay.
Because I couldn't, I was like, I don't know if I can finish the book at your time frame at that time. And so, but I'm a writer.
Sure.
So I was writing, and I just self-published a few things as I felt like, okay, I can do this, and I could do shorter stories.
Sure.
And so, walking around and
in the neighborhood here or just in town?
It wasn't here, because this house was built in 2014. We found a park, and we would walk through that park, and I would just really, get, different ideas, different stories, different feelings about certain things. And so the first book I did, when I decided I could go back to traditional publishing, I contacted my agent and I said, I think I want to come back. Do you think anybody wants me back? Yeah. And so she was like, yes. And so the first book I wrote was Something Good. And the title meant something to me as well, because at that time I needed something good. Sure. And I was writing it during the pandemic. Yeah. So not only was I feeling like, okay, I need something good, I need to, just change my perspective, the whole world was feeling that. Sure. Because of the pandemic. And so that was my first book, and it was a women's fiction, because I decided I needed to switch genres. And I said, maybe if I switch genres, then something will flow. And it actually did begin to
In your
flow.
former genre, you were doing religious fiction.
Yes, I write Christian fiction.
Yeah.
And so my women's fiction also had inspiration within it as well.
Yeah. So speaking of faith, writing a novel takes, we can call it a secular faith, but a faith in oneself. You got to believe you can do it.
Yes. No, sometimes you don't believe you can do
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
You're like, what's going on?
Well, people always say, well, I would write a novel if I had the kind of time you do. It's like, no, you wouldn't. You'd watch TV and play on the internet.
That's right.
What you would do. So you got to have faith in yourself. You also have to have faith in your project.
Yes.
That it's going to keep given to you.
Absolutely.
To work with you on it. But you're a person of really ardent spiritual faith.
Yes.
So how does faith, whether it's faith in yourself, faith in your project, your religious faith, how does that play a role in like taking you to the desk and keeping you there and saying, all right, Vanessa, today? Because I remember one day we were scheduled to talk on the phone and you were like, I got to write until 2. I mean, do you have this rigorous time or like, what is your process like and how does faith work in it?
So I do sit down and I write, but I don't have this. It has to be certain times. I write until my brain can take no more, and it's usually in the evening. Okay, I have to do something else because there's no more words coming out. But I would say my faith plays a part in it definitely because I like to write books that uplift. Now, the story isn't going to start off uplifting. And I think that that's a part of who I am. My name means butterfly. And, what is a butterfly in the beginning? It's this caterpillar.
Yeah.
And so you're always going to get this caterpillar story from me in the beginning because I'm trying to get you to that butterfly. And so to me, that's the inspiration. And that's the part where God plays a part in that. And there are many times when I don't know how I'm going to get my character out of all of the mess I put them through.
Yeah.
And then I'll go to church and my pastor will preach a message and I'll say, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
And so that helps me at times, especially with my my Christian fiction or inspirational. Now my historicals, I'm on my own.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm writing those stories about real people or real events. So I have to write it based on what happened with those events or the actual people.
Yeah. Well, it's funny what you said about going to church and the preacher might say something that unlocks an awakening, a moment of connection. And when I teach, I tell students that being a writer, you have like a sticky brain.
Yes.
You're always paying attention. You're always eavesdropping on conversations. You're reading the headlines a little bit differently than other people. And I imagine if your spiritual radar is up, you're not just getting the stories, you're getting other, I don't want to say transmissions, but other kind of vibes or feelings. Or does that happen to you in a religious sense?
It actually does because if you're writing spiritual books or inspirational books, you are always looking for that inspiration. Where is it going to come from? And how do we get this to the reader? And you don't want a book that's going to preach to your readers. That's not what a writer does because I'm not a preacher.
Sure.
I am a writer. I like to say I'm a storyteller.
Sure. Yeah.
And so that's what I want to do. I want to tell you a story, but I also want to lead you to hope in the story. And I do believe that inspiration, and it comes from all places, but it very definitely comes a lot of times when I'm just sitting in service and I'm wondering, how am I going to finish this book? Where am I at? What did I say? Why did I say I would write this? And then I'll hear something and I'll go, that's it.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned storytelling. I grew up in the Baptist church, and every Sunday, the preacher would get up and tell a story.
Absolutely.
And then they would tie in scripture, and then they would unpack it, and then they would tell you how to apply it.
Absolutely.
And it was kind of this formula that you were kind of conditioned to know where the turns were and kind of what was coming next. And so you're kind of prepared, and writing is that way too. When you're writing and you get at a point in the draft where you're like, somebody's eventually going to read this. I gotta make sure that I'm hitting those marks like the preacher does. You know?
Absolutely. And we do. We have certain marks that we have to hit as we're writing um, a book. We just know, okay, this has to happen now.
Yeah.
This happens here.
Yeah.
Because everything works together to pull that book together to where that reader gets those aha moments.
Yes, absolutely.
And if they don't get it, then the reader is disappointed.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We will be right back with Vanessa Miller.
This episode of the Our State Book Club podcast is sponsored by Deerfield Episcopal Retirement Community in Asheville, North Carolina.
Before we go any further, I want to let our listeners and viewers know that Vanessa and I will be sharing the stage together on the evening of February 25th, it's a Wednesday, at Fearington Village in Pittsburgh, North Carolina, for a special evening of hors d'oeuvres, cocktails, and books with Our State magazine. If you're interested, join us that evening. You can find tickets online at ourstate.com. We are back with Vanessa Miller here in her beautiful home in Charlotte, North Carolina. And Vanessa, I met you last year at page 158.
Yes.
It was you and me and a bunch of other North Carolina writers. We just had an evening. I think it was a fundraiser. We were doing something for
It was her book festival.
her book festival. And Sue and Dave Lucy, great bookstore in Wake Forest, North
I
Carolina.
love that bookstore.
That was the most fun group of writers. And I met you in person and was like, I'm getting her for the Our State podcast. I think I texted the editor, Elizabeth Hudson, that night and was like, look up Vanessa Miller because she's going to be on the podcast next year. And I was so intrigued because you were talking about American Queen.
Yes.
It has just come out. And I'm a North Carolina native. I fancy myself someone who knows a lot about North Carolina. I'd never heard the story of Luella Bobo Montgomery. I'd never heard of the Kingdom of Happy Land. And you were talking that night, and my jaw was on the floor. And I looked around, and I wasn't the only jaw on the floor. So can you tell us first about the story of Happy Land, and then second, tell us how you came to learn about it?
Absolutely. I love, love, love this story. I call the American Queen my love letter to history because I wasn't going to write historical fiction. I told you
Now you can't stop.
Yeah, I told you I was going to write women's fiction, and then this story came to be. And so it is a story about enslaved people who, after slavery, they decided they were going to go and build. I don't know if they thought they were going to call it a kingdom when they left from where they were, and they travel. As the story goes, they leave Mississippi and they travel through Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina to get to their promised land in the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina.
Yeah.
And so when they get there, it was the place was owned by Sarepta Davis, and it was Oakland Plantation. And so her former slaves had already left, and they had empty cabins. And so they bartered with her. If we can take these cabins and we'll work for you to help build up your plantation because it was in ruins.
Sure.
And so once they began working for her, and they had about 100 and some people when they first arrived.
A whole caravan.
And it kept growing. So once they began working for her, they began to save up enough money, and then they buy part of her land from her. And so after they buy this land, William, he decides this is going to be our kingdom because he had grown up with his mother telling him stories about the place they came from in Africa, a place where there were kings and queens. And so he says, okay, this will be our happy land, and it is going to be a kingdom. And so I thought that this story was so amazing when I heard it. And the amazing part to me was the audacity of these people who had just come out of being enslaved.
Mm-hmm.
And to have the audacity, not just to build homes because they did that. They built a church, they built a schoolhouse, they had a farming system, but to call it a kingdom.
Yeah.
To me, it said that they knew who they were and they would not be told any different.
Yeah.
And so I knew I had to write this book. And so the way I found out about it was the first book I told you about, Something Good. Lisa Wingate gave me an endorsement on Something Good, and I was reading a book of hers, and so I tell people it's always good to go back and say thank you.
Of course.
So you never know what else you're going to
That's right,
get.
yeah.
And so I emailed her, and I was telling her how much I was enjoying the book I was reading, and then I of course, thanked her for giving me the endorsement on Something Good. And she emails back and she says she learned about the book of hers that I was reading from a Facebook friend. And she said, another Facebook friend told me about the Kingdom of the Happy Land. And she said, Vanessa, since you live in North Carolina, you might want to do some research on this. And I was like, Kingdom of the Happy Land? And so I started just doing a little bit of research. And when I saw this, I contacted my editor
Yeah.
and I said, I need to write a historical. And she and I met. She told me, she said, I was so afraid I was going to have to tell you no, because they're trying to build me as a women's fiction writer.
Yeah.
And here I come saying, no, I'm going to write a historical.
I'm going to write about slavery for my next one. Keep it light.
I'm just going to do this.
Yeah.
But when she heard it, she was like, oh my God, you have to write this story. And she even told me, just like you said, when you sat there and you were kind of like in awe, she was like, Vanessa, everyone I tell this story to, their jaw drops.
Yeah.
Because no one has heard of this. And so we knew we had to write it. We knew we had something. And I'm forever grateful to Lisa for giving me that information and for my editor saying, yes, you can switch over.
Yeah. I mean, in the last segment, we talked about sticky brains. You're just kind of, as a writer, walking through the world, hoping something is going to stick to you and influence you and inspire you. And that had stuck on Lisa's brain. And she gave it to you.
She did.
And I tell you what, I wouldn't have turned loose of that. I'd have been like, oh,
not many writers would have.
Right, yeah.
But that is a testament to the person that she is. Yeah. And that she wanted to, she knew this email she was sending me was going to change the trajectory of my career.
Sure.
She knew it.
Yeah.
I didn't know it.
Yeah.
But she knew what she was doing, and she did it anyway. And I'm just forever grateful to her for that. Yeah, I've had so many exciting things happen for me in my career because of The American Queen that would have never happened if I had continued writing women's fiction. So
thank you, Lee. If Lisa Wingate ever wants to email me, she can.
Okay.
She can go to my website. Okay. Contact me through Our State Magazine.
She has tons of stories now, so you never know. She may have another North Carolina story.
Yeah, fingers crossed. So, you were talking about the name Vanessa means butterfly, and you kind of think about writing historical fiction. You give them the caterpillar first, and then it blooms into a butterfly. And the caterpillar struggles. The caterpillar does this thing. It closes itself off. So Luella leaves this. Luella gets married. She gets married down in Mississippi. Her husband's a minister. He's a good man. His half-brother, kind of a good man, kind of not a good man. He goes on this caravan with them. Her husband's a man of faith. Luella's a woman of faith. But when they go on this journey out of Mississippi, as you said, through Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, you are, Vanessa, essentially taking them through the terror of the post-Civil War South. We've got Klan, we got lynchings, we've got night riders, we've got poverty, starvation, this horrors, because people forget, either they forget or they don't know, that after the Civil War, the South was just decimated.
Right.
I mean, you've got empty farms, you've got formerly enslaved cabins that are just gone because people, you take to the road. There's no money. You go in search of what you need, And I thought it was so interesting how you chronicled that on this journey. I mean, you even have characters saying, for example, John is no longer my name.
Yeah.
That was my enslaved name. Now my name is I've forgotten the guy's name.
Because they were able to
Be themselves.
pick names,
Decided who they
them
wanted to.
during that time, and a lot of people don't know that. And a lot of people don't know where Freeman comes from.
Sure.
Because people started saying that was their new last name. And yeah, I think people think, especially, I think this younger generation of Black people, they think, oh, well, the slaves were free and everything was just fine.
Yeah.
They don't understand Reconstruction.
Sure.
And they don't understand this thing of there's no money.
Mm-hmm.
You have to now make your own way.
Yeah.
And so I was very interested in that time period.
Sure.
And I wanted to show it to the readers. And a lot of people have told me, I didn't think about it like that.
Absolutely.
And I just think we just think everything just magically happened and people were just all of a sudden in homes.
Yeah, and there's no social safety net for anybody. There's no government assistance coming because you don't have any food or any money for anybody.
No. Everything was in
just total disarray. And what's amazing about this story, as you said, is that this group of formerly enslaved people have that burden on their shoulders, right? And are still able to go make a place for themselves, buy land, create their own kind of communal sense of civilization and life, and kind of rise up out of this destruction.
Yes.
I mean, it is an amazing story. And as I'm reading it, after learning about it from you, I'm thinking, think about how many monuments are in this country acknowledging the Civil War. Where's the monument to Happy Land? You want to talk about coming out of a dark time into the light?
I would love for there to be one. I've talked to Kim Michelle Richardson about that. She made sure that there was like an acknowledgement for her librarians who did this amazing thing in their time. And she's like, Vanessa, there needs to be something for the Kingdom of the Happy Land.
Yeah.
And so I'm hopeful for that.
Yeah. And it's amazing. I wrote a novel several years ago about a mill strike that happened in my hometown where a bunch of poor people got together and demanded a living wage, attacked violently, just erased from history.
Yeah.
Happy Land, erased from history. And I think it's because when people sit down to come up with school curriculums, they don't ask Luella what they want their descendants to learn.
Correct.
Somebody else makes those decisions and we learn about other stuff, but we're going to be learning about the American Queen here if some of these community reading programs have anything to say about it.
And that's my hope.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
my hope that it lives on and that people really learn this story.
Sure.
Because I think it's an amazing thing that happened in America.
Sure.
And I think it's also a testament to who we are as Americans. Yeah, this country has done some horrible things, but there's always been levels of growth where you can come from this terrible place and you can still make something of yourself in this country. And I think that's the beauty of America.
Sure. And I think it's important to have those models, people like Luella, to really say like, well, she did it. And I don't even have to walk from Mississippi to Hendersonville, North Carolina. I can get out of bed today.
You can drive
That's
where
right.
you need to go. So you have no excuse.
So you have this amazing story. Lisa Wingate kind of gives you this kernel of this amazing story. And you've written, you're on your fourth historical now post America. Third? Okay.
Yeah,
Your third just came out, right?
No, it comes out August.
Okay, that's
2026. My second one came out this year, The Filling Station.
The Filling Station. So your third one's about to come out, but you've started writing your fourth, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you know, Vanessa, when you've got a story that you can stick with for the long haul? How do you know it's the one? Like American Queen, you're like, that's the one. Filling Station, that's the one. Ladies Hall, this is the one.
The funny thing about it is I never know. I think, oh, I want to do this story. And then when I begin to write it, I am with every book, I am sitting at my desk and I say, why did I tell them I would
Yeah.
write
Oh, yeah.
this
That just
story?
means you're a good person.
Why did I
That doubt.
why did I do this? Because I am so ill-equipped to write this story. And then I say, okay, just take this page today.
Yeah.
And then take the next page tomorrow. Try a few pages. And as I keep going with the story, that's when I then say, wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. You can do this.
Yeah.
You have something here. But every story, when I begin it, I'm thinking, why did you trick those people into giving you a contract? You know you can't write this story.
Yeah.
But I'm thankful.
I think that's a healthy sense of, hesitancy that I think that really decent people have, which I think you're a decent person. You think like, what am I doing? In every novel I write, and you're probably the same, it's never gotten easier.
No.
There's no grand magic. There's no trick to make it a book work. You just do it or you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just work. There's getting up every day and putting in the work.
Yeah.
And even when you go, this is garbage. My first draft of every book, I'm always like, well, I could throw this in the trash, or I could, try to see if I can make something out of it.
That's right.
And I'm thankful that I try to make something out of it.
Sure.
And, I'm thankful that, now, the books are actually receiving awards. So I guess I am making something out of it. After I go through my whole, what am I doing?
Yeah. Well, we have come to the end of our time together, almost, but I'm going to put you through the North Carolina lightning round, where I'm going to ask you some questions, particularly about North Carolina. You're not a native North Carolinian, but you've been here long enough where you've got some opinions. So I'm going to ask you some questions about North Carolina. What is your favorite restaurant in Charlotte?
Oh, Velvet Taco. And if you go there, you want to get this shrimp taco that they have. I forget the exact name of it, but ask for it in a lettuce wrap.
Okay.
It's like Tex Melt or something like that, but it's a shrimp taco.
They might call it the Vanessa Miller shrimp lettuce wrap now.
They might as well. I loved it. I have gotten my husband hooked on that taco.
Is it near y'all's house? Or is it?
No, we have. Oh, you know where it's at? You know how I found out about it? It's near Park Road Books.
Oh, that's so
And
funny.
so one of my favorite bookstores here in Charlotte. And we just went right over there. And I was like, I love this place.
Oh, that's great.
Velvet Taco.
Velvet Taco. What is your favorite vacation spot that you've been to so far?
In North Carolina, I drove to Asheville, and I was at the Omni, and it's Grove
Park?
Grove Park. Oh, it is such a beautiful place. Walking around inside is beautiful, but if you look out the window and you look at all the greenery,
Yeah.
I have seen nothing as beautiful as that place so far.
Yeah.
So I don't want to make anybody mad at me. So far, that has been the most beautiful place I have been in North Carolina.
It is really beautiful.
Yeah.
What about your favorite sports team?
The Panthers.
Okay. Well, they had they're doing better. This will air in February, so we don't know what the season holds.
Don't know what it holds.
But right now, they had a loss yesterday, but
yes, they did.
They're hanging tough. And I know your husband's a Carolina Tar Heels fan.
Yes, he is.
Talking Tar Heels before.
Panthers and I have to say yes, Tar Heels.
Yeah.
That's our team as well. And so we love the sports here in North Carolina. Yeah. So and Charlotte area.
And then my next question will be, what's your favorite North Carolina food that you've had so far?
Well, the favorite thing I've had in North Carolina, I would have to say the ribs, with the sauce that they have here in North Carolina.
The vinegar sauce. Is there a place in town that you like better than any other?
Jim and Nick's.
Okay.
I have gone there numerous times. If my husband isn't making it here, I go to Jim and Nick's.
Does he make the vinegar-based sauce too?
He makes a different sauce, but I like the vinegar-based sauce
Yeah.
as well.
Well, Vanessa, this has been so wonderful, and I'm so excited about our event on February 25th. And I loved this book, and I love my time with you. So
Thank you so much.
for
I
doing
really
this.
appreciate it. I had a good time.
Good.
This episode of the Our State Book Club podcast is sponsored by Deerfield Episcopal Retirement Community in Asheville, North Carolina.
What might it be like underneath the sunrise in a state of flight? Coming back on me, it seems wonderful, the wandering mountain birds on a beach. Never moments ever wasted, turning away from your love. Honeybees, gardens of sweeter fruit, never tasted, no turning to other things. Will you be, will you see, sweeter fruit, never tasted, don't turn your back on me. Mountains pushing into the sea, mountains in